What's going on, my people? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Sports Counterpoints podcast. I am GB, Brian and Cooper with me as always. What's up, my guys?
Going on?
Going on?
And we back at it. It's good to be back. I was just thinking about when I was gone, y'all were holding it down solo. So when I say it's always been the three of us is true, but y'all have actually had times when it wasn't. So
Not
yeah,
many.
appreciate y'all keeping it going. And thanks everybody for listening. It's really, honestly a pleasure to do the show with these guys. It's kind of just something that we decided to do that's been fun to do. Thank you so much for listening, for checking us out, and supporting. So we talking about Captain Klay Thompson coming back to Golden State. Got to represent for that as me and Cooper in the Bay Area. Interesting to talk about that. Also college football from last week, and then we'll talk about this week. Same with the NFL, where that goes. Raiders did not lose this week, so book that.
Yes.
And then we'll get in with our last few segments. So let's get to it on November the 12th, 2024, starting with Klay back at Golden State. Did y'all get to see the warm intro they gave him and any of the stuff around his return?
Brian, I didn't see the intro. Did you?
No, I was at the business dinner, as I mentioned earlier, but I did see some, pop-ups talking about how they did an excellent job, but I did not get to see it.
I did get to see it. Again, I'm in San Jose. Shout out to the 408 and all my people out here in the South Bay. A lot of Warrior fans, and then my family's Warrior fans too. So was watching that. Was pretty awesome. When he walked in, there's about 400 members of the organization that were in the tunnel, so kind of cheering him on. What they also did was gave out Captain Klay hats to the stadium. So it's like the captain's hat, because he was known to take his boat across the bay. And wear the captain's hat. So they gave a captain's hat with the Warriors logo on the middle, which is cool. And then the intro video was just highlights showing him from draft date, them winning the championships, and saying welcome to Klay. The fans booed every other starter, and then warm welcome for Klay, which was awesome. And then the cool part, once he got to the free throw line that first time, they were back to booing. So it was cool to see they still repping for the basketball aspect of it, but it's nice. Klay and Steph were going back and forth, kind of doing some defense on each other, and it's cool to see, but end of an era. So I just wanted to talk about it and kind of get you guys' thoughts on, some of that Big 10 organization coming back.
Well, I didn't watch it, but I would expect nothing less from the Warriors. I mean, he was a big reason why they won. All those.
Huge.
All those. Well, I'll say except probably the last one, but the first three, he was definitely a huge part of that. And I think an underrated aspect about Klay is it allowed Steph to be Steph. Klay didn't require a lot of ball handling. He didn't need the basketball a lot. He was a catch and shoot player, and that worked well with Steph because Steph was the primary ball handler. When you get guys who have probably the same game in the backcourt as guards, it usually doesn't work. So I think Steph is very underrated in that aspect, in that he knows how to play with stars. That's also an underrated aspect. His ego wasn't big enough to where if Durant came, he wanted to leave. He wanted to play and continue to try to win championships with the Warriors. Now, him not being with the Warriors now, I think it was the right decision for the Warriors because he's no longer the player that he used to be, or that they need him to be at this time. And he makes sense with the Dallas Mavericks. It gives him a guy who can shoot while Luka and Kyrie does all the penetrating. So it's a win-win in both cases. The Warriors can develop young talent, and Klay can go and try to win another championship, because a lot of people forgot Dallas did make the NBA Finals last year when they lost to Boston. So
yep.
This is one of them things, like I said, I wouldn't expect anything less from the Warriors. Klay definitely deserves it. Where each team goes from here, where Steph and Klay go from here, I don't know. I can't predict the championship for either one of them at this point, the way Boston is playing. But I mean, good for Klay and good for the Warriors to have some class and do something like that, a tribute.
Warriors just beat Boston in Boston last week.
One game. Yeah, they did.
I think they've only lost one. So
yeah.
So any last thoughts, Speed?
No, none for me. Like I said, it is great to see when organizations do the right thing, treat people the right way.
Definitely. And we got basketball season's in full effect to that thought process. Kind of liking the JJ Redick experiment so far. I think it's good to have a coach with some X's and O's. We'll see what it turns into. I don't know where that goes, but I kind of like watching the offense that we run, because it's like an offense, and like people move and passes are made and screens are made, and you sometimes get easy shots. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's crazy though. The result is they're in the 7th seed.
Yeah. Hey, like
which is
said,
Well, they got old guys and they got a D up.
It's early.
It is early. It is early.
It's very early. And it's not like football. It's a long season. So cool. All right, a little bit of NBA talk. Just want to shout out Klay as he comes back. Let's get to college, man. College football last week. Let me start, man. I was messing with y'all before the show. What's up, man? Colorado's winning some games. Y'all ain't saying nothing. What's going on?
What am I say? They still suck. He's a horrible human being. He crashed. He talks about how he was going to help black athletes. He's done nothing of the sort. He went in there and immediately took the scholarship from a whole bunch of people who couldn't get into the transfer portal and then therefore are out of college or out of scholarships. None of that gets fixed by winning a game against an unranked Utah, who's 4-5.
Oh, Texas Tech. It was Texas Tech.
All right.
Yeah, sorry, Utah's this week. If they beat Utah this week, it doesn't undo the horrible, horrible things that he's done to the people that he says he's there. He wanted to help. I will make a reference to this later on in our show because there's a certain thing that I want to talk about that will also come back, and that'll be a full circle moment.
Well, foreshadowing. It'd be nice, if you like really told your true opinions on the show.
I know.
You hold back. Man.
I'm working on it. One of these days, I'm going to get to the point where I can be my authentic self.
That's all I hope, man. I hope that for all of us one day.
That's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah. Colorado just doesn't impress me. I've watched them more than enough times. They're an average team. They can beat the bad ones or in the middle of the road teams, and they'll lose to above average team or the good teams. I mean, that's how it goes. I had a bet on them though because they were playing against a team, Texas Tech, that defense is absolutely horrible. It's horrific, actually. The bet was that Colorado would score over 34.5 points, and they scored 41 points in this game. So started off slow in the first half, then they just started scoring in the second half, which is what Texas Tech do. They give up points. So it doesn't make Colorado a good team, but it's good they build up their resume, and they can probably make it to a bowl game this year because they didn't make one last year. And
they'll be bowl eligible for sure. It looks like they're going to be one of the first 4 out because unless they have BYU falls apart, which they played Utah this week and almost did. But unless BYU falls apart, they're going to get the Big 12 conference spot.
Ring 17. Okay. All right. I was curious. Let's go to the rest of the games. What else were y'all? I see Miami won big.
No, Miami did not win big, and I'm trying.
Wait. I might be on the wrong week. Week.
You think of Miami, Ohio?
They did the opposite of win big.
Let me see.
They lost.
You thinking of Miami, Ohio? Hey, I said last week.
Oh, this was the Georgia Tech game.
Yeah, when Brian was saying, they have an easy schedule. They went out. I told
they
Brian,
do have an easy schedule. The problem is they're not nearly as good as that number 4 ranking they had.
No, they're a top 25 team though, definitely, but. They're I mean, I've seen this every year. I've seen it every year. Teams that they're supposed to beat, they will lose that game. They do it every year. Now, this is a better team than they had the last few years, but it doesn't surprise me. I actually bet the under in this game because I didn't think Miami will perform that well offensively. And the only reason why is because the time slots that they play in just keeps switching. I don't like that. You can't get a repetition. You can't get accustomed to a specific schedule because you keep playing different time slots and things like that and weird travel, etc. So I bet the under this game. They only scored 23 points. They tried to make a run at the end like they always do, but eventually you cannot keep winning games, not even in NFL like that. It's going to catch up to you. You're going to lose, trying to come from behind all the time. It just doesn't work, and it didn't work this game. Now, as far as the college football playoff hopes, it's not all they have to do really is kind of win out. Not saying it's easy, but they have to win out and then probably beat Clemson in the ACC title game and they get in. So the path to get into the playoff is not done, but they did make it just a little bit harder on themselves to get into the college football playoff. So we'll see what happens. But like I said before, Miami has never won the ACC, and they've only been to the ACC championship game, I believe, only one time since joining the conference back in early 2000. So for them, going to the ACC championship game will be a successful season. Winning it will be playing with house money after that. So we'll see what happens. But Miami did not play well in that game, and
they are still in the college football playoff rankings in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, number 9 right now.
Yeah. So
what
we'll
else?
see what happens. Man, Minnesota lost to Rutgers. That was shocking. Did USC play this week, Brian?
They did not.
They
changed their quarterback though.
They did change the quarterback. Yeah. I know we had Michigan plus the 14 against Indiana. They covered that one. That was good. Oh, that's right. We had Alabama, and we were opposite sides. Alabama, LSU. Alabama actually made this a runaway. Did you watch any of the game, Brian?
No, but I did tell you that LSU wasn't gonna be able to do anything with that.
Yeah,
I actually did not watch a lot of college football because outside of the Alabama LSU game, which I was kind of sure that Alabama would be able to do would win. I didn't know they'd win by that much. I thought it was going to be a chalk weekend. I mean, there weren't a lot of really compelling matchups. So I played golf. I played right smack in the middle of the day when games are going on. And then slowly and surely throughout the round, I checked the score like, oh, shoot, there goes down goes Miami.
Yeah.
Wow, Utah's making a game of it. Like,
it was, that's when you text, what'd you say, a wild weekend in college football or something? You said
that's exactly what I said. Yeah. That was exactly what I was talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, I took advantage of the Big Ten scheduling. I took Penn State minus 12 at home playing against Washington. Washington played, I believe, at Iowa in October. They got blew out. They played at Indiana. They lost by a couple touchdowns. Now they had traveled even further to Penn State, and I don't even think they scored a touchdown. I know they lost 35-6. So I know, Brian, one big thing that you were talking about regarding the whole Pac-10 teams going or Pac-12 teams going to the Big Ten is that scheduling, man, playing the East Coast. And I think it's really affected Washington this year because they've lost their last 3 road games. They weren't even competitive in their last 3 road games leaving Washington. So I had to take advantage of that. And
it's too
get
much.
Some money off of that. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. Other than that, you're right. It was pretty much a chalk weekend. BYU barely escaped. I didn't know Utah. I know we were on opposite sides of this game. I didn't know Utah starting quarterback was out, but BYU ended up pulling it out at the end. I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of those games again.
Yeah,
the game that I was kind of a little bit interested in, I was the Texas game because I thought that Florida could win. I was more curious to see if they're going to get back on track on the quarterback position. And now I don't know, Manning got a few plays. He didn't do anything with it, but Ewers was back there, 5 touchdowns. He started 330 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
12-yard average on attempt. That's impressive. So he's looking a little bit more like the guy who was the Heisman favorite at the beginning of the season. So we'll have to see how he does. But I think Texas is back, right? So at one point in time, I thought Ohio State and Texas were the 2 clear best teams in college. I think we're getting close to being back to being the case. And then you've got to, obviously add in Oregon, who most people are tracking. But, if you look at the college football playoff rankings right now, it's Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas. I think it would be hard to argue that those aren't the 3 best teams.
Yeah, I don't know how many Miami games you watch, man, but their offense is really good. They've had 10 plays, 50 yards
impressive.
or more. But their defense, Brian.
Yeah,
their defense. They've allowed 8 plays this year, 50 yards or more, and this is only game 10. I mean, the defense is just not good.
Miami's cruising into a situation where they might get into the playoffs because they'll have one of the best records of a conference winner if they win the conference, and with only 1 loss. Then they, their penance for that is they get an Alabama, Georgia first round and get to play the winner. Like that would be brutal.
Yeah, man. I got to talk about a bad beat real quick before we move on. So I bet North Texas +7 against Army, and the quarterback for North Texas. North Texas could have won the game. Should have covered at least.
Close.
Yeah,
they
lost
14. But I actually watched the game, and the quarterback for North Texas. This is the one bet I'll never forget. I had in the NFL. I took the Rams +10 against Green Bay in Green Bay, and Nick Foles was the quarterback. And the quarterback from North Texas, did the same thing Nick Foles did that game. He threw not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 interceptions in the red zone. In the red zone, all 4 of them. And 3 of them were in the end zone. I mean, it was terrible. It's like if he would just completed one of those passes, it would have covered. You know what I'm saying? So I believe I was on the right side on both of those games. But both of those quarterbacks threw 4 interceptions in the red zone. And sometimes we gamble on games. stuff like that happens. Just had to point that out there. I
Yikes.
talk about the wins, got to talk about the losses every once in a while when they
Yikes, that
happen.
hurts.
But
Yeah.
Jason, so here's the thing about that game. The reason I said why. The one thing I know about Army, and I do not know much of anything, and why they are anywhere near a ranking is just they're 9-0. I get that 7-0, but you know what their leader in passing yards had in that game, right?
How many?
15 yards and one.
Yeah, oh yeah,
interception.
right. I'm about to say I thought it was 30.
He was 2 for 4 for 15 yards and one interception.
Yep.
That game, I'd rather watch a root canal live than watch a game where one off and it's every game. Like they
I was gonna say 35 yards, but yeah, you're right.
I like
15 yards. Yep. And it's not like they had a whole bunch of people doing the quarterbacking and this one had 7 and that one had 8 and this one had one quarterback is the only people who threw the ball. 4 attempts, 2 completions, 15 yards, and one of them to the other team.
Yep. And they still couldn't cover that damn 7.
I like North Texas is called the Mean Green. I like
Mean
that.
Green, yeah.
That's fire.
Yeah. The best bet, how low is I don't even know what the under is, but if you're only throwing 4 times in a game and everything else is a rush, the under is safe because the clock is constantly moving.
Yeah.
Like the over under in that game was 66.
Right.
If I knew anything about the Army before this weekend, I would have bet a house on the under 66.
North Texas was supposed to score points, but obviously that didn't happen either. But yeah.
Okay.
Real talk.
Man, I wish I knew so.
Army was favored.
They were favored by 7, but North Texas still should score points. That's what they do.
Well, it sounds like they were there. I mean, you said they was 4 in the red zones gonna hurt you.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Sounded like the damn
15 yards. That's crazy.
The damn Lions game.
Man.
All right. So what about, unless you guys have any more of that from this past week, what about this week?
Nah, this week, look at these games, man. Colorado and Utah, Texas are. I was looking, I didn't really see much to really discuss. You got Alabama's playing Mercer.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, this isn't
Isn't it? That's just sad. I mean, look, ranked games is Missouri, South Carolina. I don't think anyone cares who wins that game, even though both of them are ranked. It's like who's going to be the fifth team in the SEC and who's going to be the 4th. Yay!
But wait, let's Coop. What are you doing
Georgia.
Saturday?
I was gonna say Boise State, San Jose State, right?
Boise State. They're down the street, bro. I could can't throw a rock, but I could hit a golf ball. Yeah, I know.
Let's look at that.
All right, I could hit a golf ball to the stadium.
It sounds like State. They better not be charging $100. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, no shit. Yeah,
bro.
I'm into that.
Man,
that's cool.
Yeah, the only thing, Brian, is Tennessee and Georgia. I don't know if it's a game that you care about. I know I would take Tennessee plus the 10. I just can't trust Georgia. That just can't be a team I trust to just give up 10 points like that. Other than that,
that's a lot of points for a Georgia team. Again, and Georgia's coming off, I think, another loss, right?
Right.
It's kind of the thing about it is that Georgia has bounced back strong in losses before, but they've never had back-to-back ranked teams. So they've lost to Ole Miss. I'm with you. I don't see how they're going to beat Tennessee. Tennessee's a lightweight, very good team. Not that they're not good; they're 7, but they're not a team that people are really thinking about, mainly because they had that loss to Arkansas earlier in the season. But I think Tennessee will win this outright. So I would definitely take the 10 points.
Oh yeah, cool. We could be in there, bro, for a little as 25.
Oh yeah, we in. Oh yeah, we in.
I mean,
let's make it happen.
We gonna spend a little more than that, but no more than 50. It would look like, and we could sit on the lower level.
Yeah, I can't sit far back. You know how I do.
Not for those prices, bro.
Right.
I'm about to say not for those prices.
It's also because you're old. You got.
I can't even argue it no more.
Okay, I can't do that.
You're like me too.
I can't even argue it, but for that game, okay.
Oh,
we'll
sounds
talk
like
about
fun.
that. That's 4:00 on Saturday.
Yeah, NFL, man.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about this week, man. Let's start.
Let's start with Brian Slobberknocker. Them 12 points, man. That was, woo. Got it done, though. Got it done.
Yay! I mean, look, I got plenty going on in my world that I don't need to be stressing Vikings games, but I still do. there is absolutely no damn reason for us to not be able to score when all of our talent is on the offensive side and we have Hawkinson healthy. But you just cannot throw 3 interceptions. And I think we have a problem. I think this is the time where you go, Houston, we've got a problem. Sam Darnold has gone from playing outstanding, MVP caliber, early start to the season type football to being an absolute liability. This is the second week in a row where he's had turnovers in the end zone, multiple of them. This is another week where they couldn't get anything going, on offense that could be sustained, except for the fact that they would get down there and they would throw another pick in the end zone. It's worrisome. The defense had another freaking incredible week. Brian Flores, if you watch ESPN or whatever, people are starting to ask him, like, do you think you're a head coach candidate this offseason? He said, I'd love to be a head coaching candidate, but it's not up for me to decide, all the things that you're supposed to say. But they held the entire Jacksonville team, which has Takes Bigsby, who's been one of the bigger surprises this year, and Etienne, who's been consistently good, to 56 yards of rushing. They held the passing game to 87 net yards of passing when you take 111 and you add the 24 yards of sacks that they got, or subtract the 24 yards of sacks that they got. They got 87 yards. That's a total offense of less than 200 yards. This defense is elite. It is so sad that the worry going into the season was whether or not they had enough talent in the DB area to end up as the team that can't figure out what to do with Justin Jefferson, Jalen Naylor, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, Cam Akers now, Tyler Chandler, and now a healthy Hawkinson. It's problematic and it's worrisome.
Yeah, I just kept up with the score of the game, and when I saw the score of the game, it just made me not want to watch. So I didn't watch any of it. I didn't watch any of it.
Yeah. I get it. I watched every single minute of it, and just kind of grinded my teeth.
Yeah. I think Brian's done talking about the Vikings. And,
let's.
I'm not mad at him. We can move on.
Yeah, let's.
Can't spend more time talking about them than they scored points.
Fair. Man,
go to your team, and then we'll do the hitters on the rest of the league.
The 49er game, man. As soon as I saw Debo's outfit, I'm like, yeah, we could possibly lose this game, man. I'm sorry.
My homies are Niner fans. They're saying that the position he plays is zesty back.
Man, I don't even want to know what zesty is, man. I don't want to be called zesty as a grown man, but anyway.
I ain't gonna say it to him. He's still 225 or something.
Oh man, yeah. So this game, Kyle Shanahan couldn't help himself, man. Christian McCaffrey's back. Let's just give him the ball all the time. Jordan Mason only got 3 snaps. Isaac Guerrero,
that's not that bad.
It doesn't matter. Jordan Mason only got 3 snaps. Christian McCaffrey was on the field 50 snaps, man. It's like, can you just please ease them back in? It's not like Mason and Guerrero are bums, man. These guys can play, and only give Mason 3 snaps and Guerrero 2 snaps. It's like, yeah, here we go again. One thing though, I'm one person who watches all the 49er games pretty much. One thing that Brock Purdy doesn't get enough credit for is how many 3rd and longs he completes, and he's in a lot of 3rd and long situations because Kyle runs the ball on 1st and 2nd down, even when the defense knows he's going to run the ball. Kyle runs the ball in the stack boxes at the highest percentage of anybody in NFL, and that puts Brock Purdy in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 situations all the time, where the defense knows he has to pass, and he does a fairly good job, overcoming those odds. But of course, there's times where he can or he doesn't. It's just, I don't know, man. It was just when McCaffrey came back, I was just hoping he just limited him about 20, 25 snaps. And so it seems to me this is going to be a theme for the rest of the season. Just try to lean on McCaffrey and just keep giving him touches and snaps instead of easing them back and then forgetting about the other 2 guys who kind of helped bring the team to where it's at right now. Yep. The 49ers, they've outgained their opponents by almost 1,000 yards this season, which is by an average of about 108 yards per game. Their 5-4 record, it's not that good, but going into this game, they were the only team in the division that had a plus point differential. Everybody else had a minus point differential going into this game. So Things haven't been that good this season, but it wasn't as bad as McCaffrey's going to be the savior, because that's not going to happen. McCaffrey's not saving this team. It's going to need an all-around effort. As far as our kicker is concerned, I've talked about it before. I was actually watching the game during my niece's wedding. It was during that reception time in the wedding. And I had my phone on the table. Me and my sister was watching it. Well, what's the score? What's the score? And so when Moody kicks, I don't know if people notice, but whenever Jake Moody attempts a field goal, I don't watch. I go to the room, turn my, because I just think he's going to miss every single time. He's just not reliable. He missed 3 kicks. I didn't even watch the last kick that he made. I didn't watch it. Yeah, I did not watch it. So I know Brian sent text message. I know Brian sent text message that he needed, I think, a replacement kicker, and you use Moody, and this dude.
Yeah. Look,
just shanking him.
The reason you pick a kicker is for the opportunity. Right. I got it right.
Right.
He had 6 field goal opportunities. He still did average with, I think, like 12 points. That's a good outing for a kicker.
That's a good
but
day,
it was just brutal.
He missed 9 of them, man.
Tell me what you make of the Debo long snapper interaction.
I don't think it's nothing to me. He's a long snapper, and he should be held accountable. He should be held accountable for whatever he does. It means nothing to me. I've seen Peyton Manning, I've seen Tom Brady, I've seen all these guys yell at players, yell at coaches, go back and forth.
You just mentioned 2 quarterbacks. I'm not a wide receiver.
Right, but I'm not saying he's on that level. But I've also seen wide receivers frustrated on the bench. He's a long snapper, man. It means absolutely nothing to me. It's not something that's going to derail the season or whatever just because he got into it with the long snapper. That's not now. If he went after Shanahan like that, Brian, then that's a different dynamic right there. But the long snapper, I don't really care. I don't even know why the kicker even got into it. He should have just stayed about it there. But he got slapped up, I see as well. But did you make anything of it, Brian?
Out of that, I mean, look, Debo's kind of proven that he's not the best team guy over the last couple of seasons, so it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
I do think he showed his true colors, and so be it. I agree with you. It's not going to derail a team. They're not going to, do anything about that or whatever. Yeah. But I don't know that there's anything to be gained by doing it either. Because here's a position you do not replace midseason. You do not replace the long snapper.
Yeah.
It is very, very hard to get good timing with the snapper. And so unless they're egregiously terrible all the time, that is one position you never see people make a change on in the middle of the season.
Yep. And those guys get paid damn near $1 million too. One last thing though, we wouldn't have won the game though without Brock Purdy. Todd Bowles came after him and blitzed him like crazy. He was 18 for 22. For 274 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against the blitz. So Todd Bowles tried it with 15 first downs as well. So he tried it, but Brock Purdy kept passing the test. And that last drive, he went 4 for 5 and put the team in position. So,
I don't know if y'all win if Godwin and
Mike Evans played.
Bro.
No,
I gotta.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Niners won the game. Niners
Definitely.
won the game. But I think the Buccaneers have played 2 extremely solid games against very good competition in the last 2 weeks without their starters.
And Evans comes back after the bye. They have a bye this week. Evans comes back.
Baker Mayfield is, he kind of was cast away. He was on the Rams for a little bit. He was jumping around. I think it's funny enough, he's one of the only people to win a playoff game for the Browns, and would be perfect for them right now. It's exactly what the Browns need, honestly, but they shipped him out, which I get. Me too. I don't know nothing because I was like, I don't want Mayfield. I don't want Russell Wilson. And boy, if I could, I would take either one. So I just had to shout out the Buccaneers because they played a damn good game last week.
They played well all
and
season.
They were right there.
They're a tough team to bet against because you never know what they're going to do. Hey, while we were talking, Steph Curry hit a dagger 3 to give him a Golden State a 120-117 win.
Okay. That's
121-17, right? So 3 points.
And apparently he yelled dagger when he hit it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does. You couldn't be surprised. Okay.
Yeah, I got to push. I ain't mad.
So let's jump some other games. What about the Ravens and the Bengals, man? Let's start with that Thursday game.
Go ahead, B. Did you see
Best game of the week. Watching that game, and we talked about how this could possibly be a very good game.
Yep.
Even if they even at the beginning because of the beginning the game at the beginning of the season. But this game was back and forth. You knew it was going to be one of those situations where it was like whoever had the opportunity last. I do not agree with the Bengals' decision to go for 2 when you do that, just because going for 2 is a coin flip. But fine. They took the chance. It didn't work out for them. But I'm not sure I would have done that either way. And I was going to talk about this in our new segment a little bit later. The play of Cincinnati, given most importantly Joe Burrow, is just kind of amazing so far. But he has a history of playing a little slow, and then when he gets into November, just kind of picking it up. But this is next level. I mean, 428 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had a field day with Chase. Most people's fantasy football weeks were ended if they were going up against Burrow or Chase. It's kind of sucks when you look at the score on a Thursday and know you have no chance of winning the week at that point. But lucky for me, I have Burrow in most of my leagues. He was the quarterback that I told everybody to draft this year. But anyways, this was just an outstanding game. 2 heavyweight quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson also had 4 touchdowns. Also had a 141 QB rating, and was nearly flawless in that game.
What could play?
And snuck out a win. I was fully expecting this game, Jason. I don't know about you, but I was fully expecting this game to go to overtime and be yet another outstanding football game ruined by the overtime rules. I was preparing myself for it.
Overtime rule is fine.
It's funny because it was. This is like the old rule.
No, every time the game, every one of the really good games that have gone to overtime have ended with whoever won the coin flip going down and getting the only score.
That was how it was our whole life.
That's fine. So the game, this was just like the first game. I saw the first game, so I was ready to see this game, and it was another shootout back and forth. Yeah. Back and forth. The Bengals defense is just not good. I've mentioned this before. New Baltimore is going to take full advantage of it, just like they did the first game. And when you have a bad defense, I'm with Cincinnati, man. I'm on the road. I'm going for 2. I'm trying to win that. I want to go overtime. I can't trust my defense to stop Baltimore. Hell no. On the road, no. Go for 2. They tried it. They didn't get it. I'm not mad. I would have definitely made that same move, man. But the overtime rule, man, for the regular season, it's just fine. It's just fine. Hey, look here. You get an average of 13 possessions per game. That's the average in the NFL, 30 possessions per game. If you can't put a team away in 13 possessions, that's a you problem.
It has nothing to do with it. The point is that the game is not decided by those 13 possessions, Jason.
Yeah.
It's
right.
decided by a coin flip.
Problem. Exactly. That's a you problem.
It's decided by a coin flip. Now, if we're going to watch football games,
but it was always
good teams play. If we're going to watch good teams play, instead of, we might as well just watch someone flip a coin in the middle of the field.
They should get rid of the coin flip and give the ball to the road team. The only time it should be a coin flip is when there's a neutral field game. That's the only time. If you're the road team, you should get the ball first. The home team got to stay at home.
They should just implement the playoff rule where each one gets a touch regardless.
No, definitely not. That's a terrible rule because it's been already known that team that plays those long overtime games, it affects them the next week, and sometimes it affects them.
Who cares about
the next
game
week?
After that. Win the game today.
No.
Play the football game in front of you, not next week's game.
You got 13 possessions, man. Make something happen. That's a you problem. You can't do
I just think it's funny because it was like we watched football our whole lives, and it was always sudden death. And for a while, it was a field goal.
Yeah, just get rid of but it sucked then too. You sit there, and you have to go 30 yards, and then
but the playoffs they got
kickers now are so good. The kickers now are so good that 50-yarders are routine. Yeah. When people miss 50-yarders, you look at the kicker like, you missed that?
The rule you got, Brian, is in the playoffs, so you're good.
Yeah, Brian, that's not fair either because our kickers make those. Coop don't know about that. That's not fair.
Yeah, kickers are good. You see, I just kept talking. Kickers are good. So look here, Brian. Like I was saying.
You're going to sound like Peyton talking about idiot kickers.
Idiot kickers, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking, too. Idiot kickers.
Yeah, well, he won, so he thinks it's all good right now.
No, he did. Not
all
me.
Right. So let's keep going. I'm not talking about that. Not talking about that.
We got to talk about the Patriots and the Bears. I know it's not on your list of things you got to talk about.
You knew exactly what I was talking about.
Caleb Williams has now lost to the other 2 quarterbacks who were drafted both in consecutive weeks.
I mean,
that is important because everyone put all this hype on Caleb.
Caleb is not playing well. Yeah,
it's a team game,
and so they fired the offensive coordinator as a result. So he's already started. He's already started to be a coach killer.
Yeah, they're gonna fire the coach too.
How many picks he throw? Because they had 19. So did he throw?
Well, he only had 3
pick
points.
sixes?
I don't know.
Yeah.
19 points is on the defense.
He
I
didn't
know
throw
is-
any completions either. He threw 30 times, 16 completions. So
Yeah,
he couldn't
yeah,
complete it to either team.
So
That's half.
GB, I'll give you a couple stats, man. He's in the bottom third of quarterbacks who have attempted over 150 passes. He's 26 out of
He's a
76.
rookie.
He's 26 out of 76 on throws over 10 yards and 7 for 33 on throws over 20 yards.
Why are you bringing up old stuff?
That's his throwing.
But,
Man,
but
don't
Jason,
play the game last week like Ryan
remember
said.
who you said was better out of him and Jaden Daniel just last week.
Oh, what?
You said Caleb Williams was better than
No, I
Jaden
did
Daniels.
not. No, I
just
did not.
last
I
week.
said Jaden Daniels was playing better. No, I did not say that. I did not.
Feel free to go there. You picked the Bears to beat them.
I did.
I said Jaden
almost
Daniels
did.
better.
I did.
Almost
Bet you a steak dinner. Bet you a steak dinner. Because I'm going to go back and I'm going to record it and play it back on the show next week.
I said it's clear that Jaden
Show
Daniels
it,
at
yeah.
this point is better than. Yeah, I'll take the bet. I said it's clear
All
that
right.
Jaden Daniels is better than
Where,
Caleb Williams. I'm going to win that bet. I know what I said on that one.
I'll get my own. I would just like to go.
That's hella funny.
I don't even buy
You'll
for
be
mine,
there.
but I just like steak.
We're going to enjoy that one.
Oh,
All right.
But I know
you
you
were
don't
all
want
up on the Caleb
Yeah.
Caleb Williams
not
bandwagon.
last week. I did not say that.
I was gonna
Last
keep going,
week I
but if
said-
maybe I want
Wait,
other games on
we're
here.
talking
but
about last week. I said Jaden Daniels is better than Caleb Williams.
After Jaden Daniels had already beat Caleb Williams, you said I still think he's better.
No,
all right,
I didn't
well,
say that.
Either
That's
way,
all right.
we
Okay,
can
go ahead.
look
I know
at
I
that.
didn't say
Cool.
that.
I didn't want to talk about that game at all, but I get why you did. So fair. I don't Bills Colts. I don't care about.
No.
Broncos Chiefs. Close
Chiefs
game.
I just
Chiefs-
wanted him to lose.
Chiefs
I'm
just
so tired
always
of the
find a
Chiefs
way
winning.
to win.
Yeah.
I don't
They keep
think,
escaping, man.
and for everything
No
I
one
said
was
about
surprised that they won,
That's what
but
they
at
do.
the same time, because it was so close, you just wanted to be wrong and let them lose.
They lined up for a 35-yard game-winning field goal, and it's blocked. Against
Well-
the Buccaneers, they scored a touchdown with 27 seconds left. Against the Falcons, they're down by 5. You had that
They won all
egregious,
them games.
whatever.
We
Against the
fumbled a bunch of
Bengals,
times.
the Chiefs got these pass interference calls on 4th and 16 that went in there, and then against the Ravens, Isaiah Likely's toe. They just keep winning these damn games, man. Just keep escaping, and they're 9-0.
They barely beat y'all too.
They don't barely beat us. They just beat us.
Oh, okay, got it. I didn't remember the game. I didn't remember the game. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help me none. 'cause
Someone
it's the
did
Broncos still, but
Someone was talking about, how lucky the Chiefs have been. It was
team
actually a
too.
Chiefs fan, and they were saying that, alternate world kind of situation, that they would just as easily be 2-7 as they are 7-2,
Yeah.
given
that's-
one break in every single game not going their way.
but good teams make their own breaks. That's what they did.
Yeah. But to me, this goes to why I do not think that they're a true Super Bowl contender this year. The law of averages always works out. It happened with the Vikings where we had that crazy first half of the season, and it was break after break after break. And the whole time I'm like, can't get this lucky forever. And sure enough, those same exact breaks didn't go their way the second half of the season. And
They kind of do.
I think they didn't make the playoffs. As a matter of fact.
Well, yeah. Remember Minnesota won all those one-score games with like 10 or
That's
11
what I'm
of them?
talking about.
Yeah, and then
That's
the
literally
next
what I'm
year,
talking about. It was break after break after break.
They kind of, I don't know, because the Chiefs got the championship pedigree already. They've already done it. They got the best coach. They got the top quarterback.
I understand why people are going to think that it's going to work, but they're going to get to the playoffs and they're going to play these really strong AFC teams that are throwing haymakers. The Ravens,
you ain't gonna hurt me. Do y'all real quick?
Yeah.
Bo Nix, what do y'all think?
Oh, I'm not a Bo Nix guy. I said that his ceiling is very, very low.
I'm not a Bo Nix guy, but I think that he has proven himself serviceable as a quarterback on a mediocre team. I mean, there was nobody saying that Denver was worth anything. They're 5-5 right now, and Bo Nix is playing okay.
It's a division game, man. I'm not taking much against Denver. Always plays.
I mean, he's still 215 yards, 115 quarterback rating, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's not bad. It's not good. It's not like you want to build your future around that. But it's not
game.
bad.
I've been saying like him, man. So like when you guys, we did the beginning of the year, we do the picks for division, and I was like, I put my team higher, expecting that we'd have mediocre quarterback play too, and win games they're supposed to win, and that's basically what the Broncos and Chargers have been doing. They're just winning games they're supposed to win. They're not necessarily just like out here world beating. They're just winning. They're beating Carolina. They're beating the Titans, beating the Saints. You know what I mean? Just winning those games, and it's got them in a good space.
I'm looking at Bo Nix, man. He has 10 touchdowns, 6 picks. I mean, his touchdowns came against the Raiders in division, Chargers in division, and Chiefs in division. That's 6 touchdowns right there. I mean, it's
They
division
won the
game.
Raider game,
Yeah.
right?
We helped him majorly with that dumbass.
Yeah.
pick.
Oh,
But
and
anyway,
then,
yeah.
and then he had so he has 6 touchdowns in division. I mean, Denver knows how to play
Hey,
within the
what's
division.
look at Herbert's numbers, because I feel
and
like Herbert ain't really doing much either.
And he has 3 touchdowns against the Panthers.
Man, you can just go put.
I'm just saying.
Justin Herbert has 11
left field
touchdowns
comes
and
the
1
shout. He's like,
interception.
I'm
"What
gonna
about
call it. I'm
Herbert?"
gonna call
Yeah.
this jealous. I'm just saying, like, what's happening is
He has 11
Harbaugh.
touchdowns and 1 interception.
Okay.
He only threw 1 pick all year, and he's
That's
thrown
cool.
touchdowns in every game except against
I was
Cardinals.
going to say, I thought Herbert was
So
doing
what's
pretty
that?
well.
Like
The only
he's
other
doing good.
what's that? 1 per game?
He's doing about 1 a game. Yeah, just about. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're running though. So I
That's what
guess
he did.
my point was Harbaugh.
Harbaugh
This is
offense.
where Harbaugh does his thing. And now Harbaugh's the man. Cool, he always wins, but they're also just winning games they're supposed to, and they're just playing short and gritty. But this whole Justin Herbert is the best ever.
No, he ain't the best ever, but he's damn sure
Harbaugh
talented.
thinks the Army offense is dynamic.
Yeah,
Like,
people have been on his nuts.
He just
Now
wants to run.
and mind you, everything I'm saying about both quarterbacks, I would take them. I'm just saying I ain't got them. They're playing.
Who says Army offense is dynamic? Who said that?
I said Harbaugh would probably think that
that's hella funny.
because all he does is run. No
run the
pass.
ball. Yeah.
All right, so
Hey, there's only one other game that we need to talk about. It was the second most interesting game of the week, and that was Steelers Commanders.
That's right.
You got to talk about Monday night too.
The Peerless One Sports Interconference Game of the Month on Pittsburgh +3. That was a good one. I had Pittsburgh. Brian, you had Washington. I had you go first.
I did.
You go first.
I did. And you know what's crazy is, like, I loved watching this game.
Heck of a game.
So it was Washington minus 1.5. You got to give it up to Vegas because they knew that this was kind of how it was going to go. 1, it's a push. 1.5.
Crazy.
But it was actually 2 points spread. But anyways, but what a good game to watch. Kind of old versus new, right? Jaden Daniels, super young, starting his career. The team is kind of trying to be part of in the same class as some of these other AFC teams. They're in the NFC, but I'm saying the AFC teams. And it was great. And then on the other half, you have Russell Wilson kind of reclaiming his career with 3 touchdowns and 195 yards. And then, you have the old coach and Tomlin, newer coach. It was great. It was super interesting. I absolutely have a lot of respect. As I said, I think the Washington was better at this point in time, but never going to hurt my feeling to see Mike Tomlin win.
Yeah, man. And if you're Washington, bro, you got to be. If you're a Washington fan, if you're on the team, you got to be
7-3 right now.
Feeling on the right path. You played a heck of a game. They've showed up in every single game. They beat the teams they're supposed to beat. They're scoring points. We all know their defense isn't great, but if you're going to give me 30 points, we going to make a stop or two.
You're going to take losses to a 7-win Steelers team, one of the best teams in the Ravens, and then opening night Buccaneers, which we were talking about playing well without their starters.
Correct.
They had their starters back then. Those are 3
games.
losses that are completely understandable.
Not blowouts.
They need to figure out a way to win against the Eagles so they don't have a streak, because after that they have the Cowboys, Titans, Saints.
Oh, they'll beat the Cowboys
3 in a row, which
Titans
they should be able to win all 3 of those.
I see Sammy. Yeah, because you get 4
so
in a
if
row.
they can find a way to get a win against the Eagles and run off 4 wins straight,
they're going to lose one of those. They'll lose one of those.
And then they also finish the season against the Falcons and Cowboys. So those are good playoff position games, opponents to have, especially with Dak, who sucked, out for the season.
Definitely.
Yeah, this was.
Did you say Dak, who sucked?
Yeah, Dak has sucked this season.
That's cool. You just said the boy was hurt. Go ahead.
No, he's
hurt, but he's been horrible all season.
Damn.
Yeah, this game, I think a lot of people
on the way out.
I see a lot of people are thinking like me, man. This was Washington -3. It went down to Washington -1.5 game time. A lot of money was pouring in on Pittsburgh. Good thing I had that early money in on there. But I was really interested in watching this game, and Washington was going out on Jalen Daniels' arm. He threw the ball 34 times. He went 17 out of 34. They were going out just trying to pass on Pittsburgh. Not a bad strategy. They only lost by a point, but Russell Wilson in this game was the better quarterback, the more efficient quarterback, not just because of the touchdowns, but he was more efficient in when he had to be. In times where they were in position to score or do whatever, Russell Wilson, made plays when it happened. But Pittsburgh they weren't trying to rely on. It seemed like Washington was trying to rely on Jane Daniels, whereas Pittsburgh wasn't trying to rely on Russell Wilson, because they were trying to run the ball a lot in that game. They didn't have a lot of success, especially with Najee Harris, but they were still trying to run. But it was a good game overall. Pickens, that was a guy I know I had about 3 years ago as the best player in the draft. I know he fell due to attitude concerns and his ACL injury, but I liked him when he was at Georgia. And I know I talked about him on this podcast, so it doesn't surprise me the work he's putting in. Now, I don't think he's the best teammate in the world or the best person, but as a football player, man, he's a dog, man, somebody you want to have. And he showed up in this game. And it was a good win for Pittsburgh and Mike Tomlin, man. They're 7-2 right now, or 7-3, or something like that. So they're doing good.
And they're really building, like, the Pickens looks like a real player since Wilson got in there.
Right.
There's just some savvy to being the veteran quarterback.
Well, it's not only that. It's just like the quarterback makes the receiver. I mean, nobody heard of Demaryius Thomas when Tim Tebow was a quarterback. Peyton Manning gets there, and then people start drafting him in fantasy. I mean,
rest in peace.
There's talent everywhere in NFL. Do you have a quarterback that can get these guys the ball is what it comes down to. And Russell Wilson is better at distributing the ball to these players on Pittsburgh, obviously, than Justin Fields is. And so, good for Pickens to being a viable fantasy guy now. And the guy's getting his stats, because that's what our wide receivers want. They want their stats to get them contracts. So
got to.
Yeah, it's good.
What about unless you got something else, Lions Texans, man? Gotta talk about that real quick. That was a high scoring game. The boy Goff threw hella picks.
It was a dumpster fire, man.
That game was like Madden, bro. Every pick was a every pass was a pick. I was like, oh man,
my game ball is going out in this game. Go ahead, Brian. You go first. This is my game ball game.
No, this is a dumpster fire. Like, it was. I don't know who Goff was throwing it to a quarter of the time. He got unlucky on like one where it was a tip ball or whatever, but most of the time it was like, whoa, what the hell are you thinking today? Sometimes people wake up on the wrong side of bed and the day just don't go their way. Jared Goff needed to roll over, go back to sleep. He would have done more for his team that way. They got the win, so all's well that ends well. But hopefully for Jared Goff, this isn't a sign of things to come, like we've been dealing with in Minnesota with Darnold. Because if this continues and he starts throwing multiple picks again, which he had a problem with earlier in his career, this amazing, maybe the best team in football, Detroit, is going to have issues. That being said, again, all's well that ends well. Detroit Lions, the team, proved that it's going to be very, very hard to beat them when a good, not great, good Houston Texans team can get 5 picks and can't figure out how to win that game. That says a lot to me. I know Jason and I are going to differ here. To me, it says more about the resilience of the Lions than it does about something bad about the Houston.
Yeah, CJ did not look good that game.
Yeah, this game, C.J. Stroud. There's been more than a few games he hasn't looked well. I've always said Houston's not the same team as last year, but this game says more to me about the Texans, and it validates the point that they're not as good as they were last year. They had 5 extra possessions off of turnovers from Jared Goff, and they couldn't get it done. That's not the mark of a very good football team. You should be able to score points and win games where you have 5 interceptions as a defense. The Lions, this isn't the same Lions. I've said this before. This is a way different Lions team. Yes, they have good running backs. They have the best offensive line in the league, but they are winning road games this year. They'll win at Dallas. They almost won in San Francisco last year in the playoffs. They've won in Green Bay this year and last year. They run in Minnesota. They're winning these road games. The Lions never did that before. And the person who has them believing in themselves, even after all those interceptions, is the guy I'm giving the game ball to, and that's Matt Campbell. Campbell has changed the complete culture of the Detroit Lions. This was a loser franchise, and Dan Campbell. They would never win games like this, but he has this team believing in themselves and their ability and work as a team to get things, to overcome situations like this. The Lions would never overcome a situation like this before. This is all Dan Campbell, man. And yes, the players are involved, but they got to have a coach to believe in, a guy who leads. And him and his staff, man, he does a really great job. And that's why he gets my game ball this week, because this is a huge win for the Lions. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if they lay a dud next week against Jacksonville after winning a game like this. It's very emotional.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Talking this week.
But yeah, I mean, big win for the Lions, man. But it says a lot about the Texans, man. They couldn't run the ball in this game. They're not really a very good running team, and when they can't pass, man, it's not good for the Texans. So they need an infusion of talent on that team. They overachieved last year, but this year it's going to catch up to them when they play the better teams, man. But they're not a bad team, but Man, to get 5 interceptions, lose against the Lions, man, that's not a good feeling at all as a coach.
Not
And I saw D'Amico Ryan's face when the game was over when he made that field goal. Man, it wasn't good. Wasn't good at all.
Yeah, well, you had hella chances, like you said. They had all the
Yeah.
possessions. So this week, B, you already mentioned Commanders, Eagles on Thursday. That's a good game. Good matchup. Who you guys got?
Yeah, a very important one, obviously. Divisional matchup, 2 teams, same record. Yeah.
Who you got, Brian?
Here's who you got. Philly -3.5.
I'm still thinking. Who you got? Who you got?
I'll take the Commanders. I think that they'll find a way to win. I don't think they're going to go 2 weeks. But obviously, I'll take 3.5 points when you got 2 teams, even records. And I do think that the Commanders are a good football team. The X factor for me is obviously Saquon Barkley, who is one of the best players in football, even though he's been injured multiple times. He is dynamic. He's exciting. He is fun to watch. If he does some crazy things, which it's hard to do every single week, especially on a short week, you could absolutely see that it'd be a problem. So.
Yeah, Washington is 7-2-1 against the spread. Eagles is 5-4. Look, the Eagles have been running this division for a few years. Until I actually see it, I can't take Washington. I can't back Washington. I know Washington's getting a lot of love. I get it. But
you're the ones that tell us that the Eagles are fake.
I don't say the Eagles are fake. I just say they're not a Super Bowl contender. But what they got to do with playing against Washington? I mean, it has nothing to do with playing against Washington. I'm taking the Eagles -3.5 against Washington. Until Washington actually beats the Eagles, I have to see it to believe it. So I'm still taking the Eagles to win this division like I did when we did our pre-show and to win this game by more than 3.5 points.
I'm going to skip a couple of these. Y'all bring up later if you want. Raiders, Dolphins. I'm just saying it because it's my team. Both teams are pretty weak. It's in Miami. I'm sure we probably lose, hopefully by less than 10. I was at this game last year, almost exactly a year ago, in Miami, which is cool. But if y'all have any thoughts, otherwise we'll go to the next game.
Well, Dolphins are going to run out the score. I'll take that Miami and the minus 7.5.
Miami.
How much is it?
-8.
-7.5.
Oh, you got 7.
I said less than 10, hopefully. Yeah, I'm with that.
All right. I'm with Miami needs to right their ship right now, especially with Tua coming back. They need a game where they score some points. This
no better
could
team
be
to
it.
play.
So yeah, I'll take Miami to cover the 8.
Sadly. Yep. All right. What about the Ravens and the Steelers?
Man, Ravens are favored on the road against the Steelers.
No. Yeah. Ravens it's my 3.
Ravens, they're -3. Man, Pittsburgh usually plays them tough. It's usually like a home and home thing. Pittsburgh usually plays them tough at home. So I'm going to take.
That's a heck of a game. I wish I could be there.
That's
going to be a great game.
I'm going to take the Steelers +3. I'm going to take them +3.
I'm going to take the Ravens -3 because I think a 3-point game is very reasonable. And, I think the Ravens are the better team. So Ravens it is.
Okay.
Well, Kansas City, Buffalo.
It's going to be a great game.
I'm going to get there. I'm getting there.
Okay, no doubt.
Another one of those, if it goes another way, I won't be shocked.
Yeah.
Vikings at Titans.
Vikings are going to find a way. You're going to see a pissed off Justin Jefferson do something crazy. Minnesota -6 is kind of an easy pick. The Titans are just not good enough to even, to be able to say this is the kind of game that you want when you're reeling like the Vikings have been. This is not me saying that I think the Vikings are going to get right or going to, start stomping down the path. They're playing a 2-7 Titans team that's legitimately bad.
Heck of a run, having them right behind the Jags.
Vikings -6 seems like a reasonable pick.
Cool.
The Titans aren't a terrible team. They just don't have a quarterback. There's some talent in that team, but when you don't have a quarterback, it really doesn't matter. They're 0-4 at home for a reason. Their quarterback sucks. I'm taking the Vikings -6 easily.
Right.
I can never bet on
the defense is going to tee off on this. He's 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Brian Flores, I sincerely hope that he's going with his most aggressive game plan yet, because this is the kind of game you should shut out.
Well, also, Brian, the 12-point output they have last week, you would think the offense needs to open up and score some points too. So it's the best of both worlds. That's what I was saying. Yeah, best of both worlds.
Seahawks at 49ers.
I'm never taking Geno Smith against the 49ers. He never beats them. I mean, I know people do. They lose their money all the time. I'm taking the 49ers.
Yeah, I'll take the 49ers.
All right. Chiefs at Bills. That's the game.
I'll start on this one. I am taking the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
At some point, the Kansas City Chiefs' lucky run has to run out.
Yep.
Buffalo, like they're one of the teams. I know the Niners failed, but the Buffalo, they have to prove that they can actually beat Kansas City. I know it's not the playoffs, but they have to have that psychological, I guess, meaning that they can actually beat them. They have to know that they can beat them, but they have to actually go out and do it so they can believe that they can beat them when it really counts. And so I think Buffalo is the play here as far as motivation. They're at home. Their home crowd is no joke. Buffalo usually plays well at home, and I think Buffalo's going to pull a lot of stops, and they're going to win this game.
Okay.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Okay. I was skipping everything else. Is there any other game you guys wanted?
Yeah, I think, Brian, this is an interesting game to me, man. Cincinnati
Bengals
against the Chargers.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's an interesting game. Chargers -1. Who you got in this game? Since he's 5-0 on the road.
I absolutely understand this spread, right? You usually want to say a home team's got about a 3-point favorite. Here's the thing. I just have a weird feeling that the Bengals are going to figure out how to actually close out a game.
They're going to win by 10.
They're clearly playing better football than on offense than the Chargers are. And if this game scores anywhere near the 46 points that they talk about, which is the line, it's going to be the Bengals. Like, the Bengals have shown that they can score whenever they need to and plenty of it.
Yeah,
they can't stop anything, but guess what?
Yeah.
The offense of the Chargers is not designed to score those kinds of points because they focus on the run. And so if you get some quick scores from the Bengals, the Chargers are going to have to open it up, which Harbaugh's not willing to do. So, the way I read this, I totally understand why the Chargers are favored. They have a better record. They figured out how to do some things. They're not a bad team, but I just think this is that week where Cincinnati finally stops getting unlucky, which they've been the last few weeks, and wins again.
Yeah, the Bengals are 5-0 against the spread on the road, and the Chargers are 3-0-1 against the spread on the road. I mean, at home. So something's got to give here. And man, you know what? I'm going to take. I mean, it's really hard to take a bad defense on the road. It just is. But like you said, the Chargers' offense isn't built to score a ton of points. But damn, they're physical and they're good. I'm going to take the Bengals with this one. I'm with you. I'm taking the Bengals, and I think they're going to win this game.
All
Get their win.
Yeah.
Okay, I got the Bengals too. Obviously. But I actually think they will win.
Herbert,
That boy Burrow could play. He's shown it too many times, and he gets hot. He can throw it. Now the Chargers gonna be scoring like that, and this ain't the Herbert that people have been seeing. So I'm gonna keep it moving. Go ahead, Coop.
But here's another sneaky good game though. It's Atlanta and Denver. Atlanta's at Denver. Denver's -2.
Man,
that's a sneaky good game.
You ain't gonna watch it?
I will.
I might.
Man, Coop, you ain't, bro. I'm calling.
Oh no, but they play the same time for an hour. So yeah, you're right. But Brian, who would you take in this?
Please, you just trying to talk. I don't give a damn about no Broncos or no Falcons.
I want to know who Brian would take. Who would you take?
I'm taking Atlanta. I'm going to take Atlanta for the same reason that we saw a really sneaky good game against Pittsburgh and Washington, and the young player wasn't outdone by the veteran player.
Yeah,
I think this is a similar situation where Bo Nix gets outdone by Cousins.
Yeah, I'm taking Atlanta too. Okay, all right, GB, you can move on. I thought Brian was going to take Denver.
Thank you, Your Grace. Damn, Brian, don't be trying to tell me no damn Falcons or Broncos. All right, so Coop had the idea for the game ball. He gave his to Dan Campbell. Brian came up with the Hogwash segment. I think it's cool. This is Coop's segment, the game ball. Mine goes to Warriors. That just classy how they showed up for Klay. You're supposed to do that, right? But that's how you do it. Showed his had a giveaway for all the fans. Klay I think played all right. So that was mine. Just a classy move. B?
Mine went to Burrow. As I mentioned when we were talking about it, it's just truly impressive how he has played over the last couple of weeks. This was a slugfest, and he threw 4 touchdowns, same as Lamar Jackson, who also had an incredible game. But Burrow has been single-handedly having to put together these games because the running game has struggled with injuries and a whole bunch of other things. Defense sucks, and the Bengals have consistently been in these games because Burrow is outplaying the competition. Whereas look at the other side this week, Lamar Jackson, he has, the best running back so far this year in football, and Derrick Henry, he's passing 24 passing touchdowns because the wide receivers are catching balls. He had the most drops last year, one of the top drops last year from his wide receivers. Burrow has had to do it all with not as much. And T. Higgins has been out the last couple of weeks as well. Anyway, so my game ball went to Burrow.
Perfect. Cool. So hogwash. This was Brian's segment he made up because he saw something as being a bunch of hogwash and want to talk about it. I don't have one this week.
Brian, you got one?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
You got one, guys?
I'll go one. Okay, I'll go first. My hogwash goes to the New York Jets. They suck. So ever since they fired Robert Saleh, their defense has allowed the highest EPA, expected points added. It's an advanced analytical stat that a lot of teams look at to measure how good you are. They have the highest EPA per play of any team in the league.
You're saying they suck.
Which means they have the worst defense since he left. And Robert Saleh was a defensive guy. That defense was pretty good when he was there. Now they're gone. Their defense is absolutely horrible. It's worse than NFL. That's what you get when you get into the Aaron Rodgers business. So, bunch of hogwash. Ever since Devontae Adams even got there, it seems like they got worse. But
that's
Jets
funny,
are hogwash.
Yeah, it's funny seeing that whole scenario. B?
Mine is to the entire Eastern Conference of the NBA.
Damn.
Okay.
Here's the thing. They have 2 winning teams in the entire Eastern Conference. Look it up, folks. 2 winning teams. That is it. One of which is undefeated, and it's not the team you're thinking of because it's Cleveland, who's undefeated this year, 12-0.
12-0.
And then the other one is Boston, who just won a championship, and that's it. Everything else is not a winning team in the entire Eastern Conference, unless something changed in the last couple minutes, which I checked, and I don't think it did. That is.
You're right.
Hogwash. It's a bunch of a bunch of hogwash that you cannot find anybody in an entire conference besides 2 teams, and one of which is a surprise, that have a winning record.
I remember saying that, like, how if my team could be on the East Coast, like we'd have went to every finals for like 20 years.
Well, LeBron did, but
right, exactly.
But GB, Brian, I gotta have one more hogwash, man. I gotta do a second.
You got mine. Yeah, you got
first time ever. It's the Chicago Bears, man. Caleb Williams has less total yards than the punter. I mean, that's just a damn shame, man. Caleb Williams has 2,021 total yards, and the
when
punter
he got
has
drafted,
2,153.
He told the punter, "You ain't gonna be punting much, so don't even worry about it."
Right,
that's funny.
Exactly. That's why I mentioned the punter has more yards than Caleb Williams has total yards, man. That is a damn shame.
That's a
2,153 yards by the punter, 2,021 for Caleb Williams. That's hogwash. Okay, I'm done.
Stat. That was a good. Hey, I'm glad I skipped mine and you took mine. That's perfect.
Man.
All right, so a minute to win it. Man, just thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to the family. Man, we're gonna see what happens this week on sports.
Cool. I want to thank everybody for listening, man. I just shout out to my family and any new members that watch this podcast, man. That was at the wedding this past weekend in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes,
I was near Tennessee State University. My niece Alexis got married to a really good guy, man. Everybody approves of, and I got to give a shout out to my nephew, her brother DJ. I think he's 23, 24. He actually performed the ceremony. Nice. I don't know how he did it. I thought he took class at the YMCA or something. I don't know how you'd be able to do that, but he did an outstanding job. He did so good, man. We gave him all a standing ovation, man, at the end of the ceremony, man. He did a great job. So congratulations to Alexis, Alicia, my sister, beautiful family, Darren. It was a wonderful weekend. Wonderful week.
Love.
Yep.
B.
Well, this is kind of a downer note, but it's got to be talked about. So for those of you who, follow the world that we have now, it's begun. So today, Jason actually pointed out a portion of this in a text message to me. Trump was talking about his plans to get rid of entirely the Department of the Education. But as part of this, he went into a, I guess, best stated rant about how he plans to start finding schools who have DEI metrics or use diversity in any way, shape, or form to determine any part of either student admittance or student aid. He wants to find them up into the entirety of their endowment and then repurpose that money to the white people who have been egregiously, what was his word? Egregiously attacked by this. So essentially, in short, he's proposing reparations for white people. Mm-hmm. That's literally what that is. He wants to take money from schools that have diversity statistics and give it to white people that he feels were wronged. This has been talked about. There's plenty of articles. There's a great video that you can see. It's very clear. He restates it and he goes through it. But here's the impact that's impactful to the three of us who started, at least in my case, but you both finished. HBCUs could disappear as a result of this.
Mm-hmm.
Department of Education going away gets rid of the Pell Grant, which 80% of Black college students use to pay for college. If there is not diversity metrics used for things like the Pell Grant, HBCUs are not going to be able to recruit students and have state-funded money because it will be against the new rules in a world that doesn't have a Department of Education.
Yep.
That's horrific. And it's, it's the new reality that all these people, minorities who didn't vote, for Kamala and said, I'm going to ride with this guy. The impacts are going to be catastrophic. HBCUs, Morehouse, Howard, Tuskegee, Fisk, Florida A&M, all the way down the line could cease to exist by the time his presidency is over.
Yep. It's a possibility.
Man.
Sad.
Sports Counterpoints.
Yeah.
Heavy. 3 old dudes. Holler. Catch y'all next time.